The report had taken 200 years to complete. 200 years of observation, data collection, and careful study of the third planet from an unremarkable yellow star. Now, as Counselor Prin scrolled through the final document on her display screen, her small hands began to shake. She was Mellori, a species that had evolved on a peaceful garden world where the most dangerous creature was no larger than her foot. Her people were scholars and scientists, valued throughout the Galactic Union for their careful minds and attention to detail. Fear was not something Prin experienced often, but today, fear crawled up her spine like ice. Director Yassel, she said into the communication device, we need to speak immediately. Priority 1. The holographic image of Director Yassel flickered to life in her research chamber. He was Torelli, a large being covered in smooth gray skin, with 4 arms and eyes that blinked in concern. Counselor Prin, what troubles you? The Soul. 3 report, Director. Earth, we have made a terrible mistake. Prin transferred the files to his display. She watched his face as the information loaded. First came the planetary classification. Category 9 Death World, the highest danger rating the Union had ever assigned to any planet. We knew the planet was harsh, Yassel said slowly. Extreme temperatures, tectonic activity, violent weather systems. Yes, but look at the wildlife, Director. Look at what lives there. The images appeared one by one. Wolves, the report called them. Pack hunters with jaws that could crush bone. They worked together, chasing their prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion. They communicated silently, coordinated attacks, and showed loyalty to their groups that bordered on terrifying. Then came the large felines. Tigers, lions, creatures of pure muscle and claw, capable of bringing down animals 5 times their weight. They were ambush predators, patient and silent, striking without warning from the shadows. Bears appeared next. Massive omnivores that could kill with a single blow from their paws. Some lived in frozen wastelands. Others roamed forests. All of them were walking destruction. This is disturbing, Yassel admitted, but these are wild creatures. What are the dominant species? The ones who built the cities we observe. Prin felt her throat tighten. That is the problem, Director. The dominant species calls themselves humans. They are soft, fragile. They have no claws, no fangs, no armor. They should have been prey. Should have been. They are not prey. They are the apex predators of their world. They have hunted every creature I just showed you. They have killed members of every dangerous species on their planet. Some they have driven to extinction. Yassel's 4 arms crossed over his chest. Then they are warriors, conquerors. This is concerning, but not unexpected for a Death World species. Director, please, let me show you what our observers recorded in the human dwelling centers. Prin pulled up the footage with trembling fingers. The video showed a human habitat, a family dwelling. Inside, soft furniture and warm lighting. Children playing on a floor covered in fabric. And there, lying among the children, was a wolf. No, not a wolf exactly. The report said humans had changed them over thousands of years. They call these creatures dogs, but the teeth were still there. The jaws were still powerful. The hunting instincts remained buried in their blood. The children crawled over the animal. They pulled its ears. They stuck their small fingers near its mouth. The creature did nothing but wag its tail and lick their faces. What am I seeing? Yassel whispered. They call them pets, Director. Companion animals. The humans keep these predators in their homes. They sleep beside them. They trust them with their offspring. More footage played. Humans walking the wolves on ropes. Humans feeding them from their own plates. Humans pressing their faces against the faces of creatures that could kill them in seconds. Then came images of the cats. Not the great tigers and lions, but smaller versions. Humans had bred them down in size, but the claws remained. The hunting instinct remained. These creatures still killed for pleasure, bringing dead animals to their human families as gifts. The humans kissed them, held them against their chests, let them sleep on their beds. This is insanity, Yassel said. Why would any species invite killers into their homes? I do not know, Director, but there is more. Prin switched to another file. Some humans keep snakes. venomous ones. Others keep spiders large enough to cover a human hand. We found records of humans keeping bears, wolves, and great cats as personal companions. How is this possible? How are they not all dead? Prin shook her head. The humans do not fear these creatures, Director. They love them. They build their lives around them. They mourn when they die and bury them with ceremony. The two of them sat in heavy silence. On the screen, a human child slept peacefully, her small arm draped over a creature whose ancestors had hunted in packs and brought down prey across frozen tundras. What does this mean for first contact? Yassel finally asked. Prin looked at him with eyes full of worry. I do not know what kind of species makes friends with killers. But, Director, if the wolves chose to live with them, if the predators of a death world look at humans and see family instead of prey, then perhaps we should be very, very careful about how we approach them. Or very afraid. Perhaps both. The transmission ended. Prin sat alone in her research chamber, watching the footage loop endlessly. The human child stirred in her sleep and pulled the wolf closer. The wolf sighed contentedly and closed its eyes. Somewhere in the galaxy, a threat assessment team began preparing an emergency report for the full Galactic Union Security Council. The humans were coming. And they would not be coming alone. 47 species had built the Galactic Union over 10,000 years. 47 different worlds, each with its own history and culture, united under a single principle. Survival through cooperation. Safety through numbers. And above all else, the careful avoidance of anything that could threaten their peaceful existence. Today, representatives from all 47 species gathered in the Grand Council chamber, and not one of them was calm. Admiral Gorvin stood at the military podium, his massive frame casting a shadow across the assembled delegates. He was Torelli like Director Yassel, but where Yassel was a diplomat, Gorvin was a warrior. His voice boomed through the chamber as he called the emergency session to order. You have all received the preliminary reports on Sol 3, he said. Counselor Prin will now present the full findings. I warn you, what you are about to see is disturbing. Prin stepped forward on shaking legs. The holographic display behind her flickered to life, showing the blue and green sphere of Earth. Such a beautiful planet, such a deadly place. The humans of Sol 3 have domesticated apex predators, she began. Not through force, not through technology. They did it through something we do not fully understand. They formed bonds with these creatures. Emotional connections. The first images appeared. Dogs of every size and shape. Massive ones that could knock down a grown human. Tiny ones that fit in human hands. All of them descended from wolves. All of them living inside human homes. These are called dogs, Prin continued. Humans have bred them for over 30,000 years. Some are bred for hunting, others for protection. Many are bred simply for companionship. The humans keep them as family members. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the chamber. It gets worse, Prin said. Observe the smaller predators they call cats. Images of cats appeared, lounging on furniture, sleeping in patches of sunlight, hunting small creatures in gardens, and bringing the bodies to their humans as presents. Cats are descended from desert predators, Prin explained. They retain their hunting instincts completely. They kill for pleasure, not just hunger. And humans find this behavior charming. They reward it with affection. Ambassador Shiel, a slender being with silver skin and large dark eyes, raised her hand. Perhaps the humans simply do not understand the danger. Perhaps they are unaware. No, Ambassador. They are fully aware. Prin changed the display. Humans maintain detailed records of attacks. Their dogs bite millions of humans every year. Their cats scratch and wound them constantly. Occasionally, these animals kill human children, and yet the humans continue to keep them. Then they are insane, Admiral Gorvin declared. A species that willingly lives with creatures that harm them cannot be rational. There is more, Prin said quietly. Some humans keep even more dangerous animals. Snakes with venom that can kill in minutes. Spiders whose bites cause flesh to rot. Large predators like bears, wolves, and great cats kept in private homes. She showed footage of a human hand feeding a bear. The creature's head was larger than the human's entire torso. One bite could remove the arm. The human was smiling. Intelligence Chief Rana, a creature of scales and calculating eyes, spoke from the analysis section. We have studied human history. They are not a peaceful species. They wage war against each other constantly. They have developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. They hunt their own world's creatures for sport. Then why do the predators trust them? Sheil asked. If humans are so violent, why do these animals allow themselves to be touched? Silence fell over the chamber. It was the question no one could answer. Research assistant Dallo, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward hesitantly. I may have found something relevant, he said, in the historical archives, about how the human-wolf bond began. All eyes turned to the young Mallory. Approximately 30,000 Earth years ago, humans and wolves began hunting together. The wolves would track prey. The humans would make the kill. They shared the food between them. Dallo swallowed nervously. But here's what disturbs me. The wolves were not forced into this arrangement. They chose it. They approached human camps willingly. They saw something in the humans that made them want to join them. What could they have seen? Gorvin demanded. I do not know, Admiral. But whatever it was, it convinced apex predators that humans were worthy partners. The wolves trusted humans with their survival, with their young, with their futures. Dallo's voice dropped to barely a whisper. The most efficient killers on a death world looked to humans and decided to follow them. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other. Some called for immediate quarantine of the Sol system. Others demanded military preparation. A few suggested destroying human civilization before they could spread to the stars. Admiral Gorvin silenced them with a raised fist. Enough. We will take no action until we fully understand the threat. But hear me clearly. A species that can earn the loyalty of predators, that can turn killers into companions, is more dangerous than any weapon we have ever encountered. Ambassador Sheil looked at the images still floating on the display. A human child with her arms wrapped around a dog. Both of them looking at the camera with expressions that might have been called joy. Or perhaps, she said softly, they are exactly what the galaxy needs. No one responded to that. The fear in the room was too thick. The uncertainty too heavy. And somewhere beyond the edges of known space, humanity was building its first starship, completely unaware that 47 species had just classified them as the most confusing threat the Galactic Union had ever faced. Rain fell on prehistoric Earth. Prin watched the simulation unfold on the research vessel's main display, her small body tense with concentration. The historical reconstruction team had worked for 3 months to create this. Every detail was based on evidence found in the archaeological record. Every moment was as accurate as Union science could make it. On the screen, a group of early humans huddled around a fire. They were thin creatures with no fur to protect them from the cold and no claws to defend themselves. By every measure the Union used to assess species, they should have been extinct within a few generations. Instead, they had conquered their world. Show me the wolves, Prince said quietly. The view shifted. Outside the circle of firelight, yellow eyes watched from the darkness. A wolf pack had been following these humans for days. They had watched the humans hunt. They had seen them bring down animals much larger than themselves through patience and coordination. This is where it begins, Dallo said from beside her. The moment everything changed, one of the humans tossed something into the shadows. A bone with meat still attached. The wolves tensed but did not flee. After a long moment, the boldest of them crept forward and took the food. Why would they share? Prin asked. Resources on a death world must be precious. Why give food to a competitor? We asked the same question, Dallo replied. The answer is complicated. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They could not outrun their prey, but they could outlast it. They would chase animals for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Then they would kill it. That is horrifying. Yes, but it also meant they often had more food than they could eat before it spoiled. Sharing cost them little and gained them much. Dallo pointed at the screen. Watch what happens over generations. The simulation accelerated. Seasons passed in seconds. The wolves that accepted human food survived better than those that did not. Their pups grew stronger. Over hundreds of years, the wolves and humans drew closer together. The wolves began warning humans of danger. The humans began protecting wolf dens from other predators. They became a single unit, Prin realized. Two apex predators working together. More than that, they became family. Dallo changed the display to show genetic evidence. Humans did not simply tame wolves. They changed them at the deepest level. Dogs have evolved to read human facial expressions. They understand human pointing gestures, something even our closest genetic relatives cannot do. They have developed muscles around their eyes, specifically to make expressions that trigger nurturing responses in humans. The wolves changed themselves to be loved. Both species changed. Human brain chemistry responds to dogs the same way it responds to their own infants. When a human and a dog look at each other, both release bonding hormones. It is a biological connection built over 30,000 years. Prin sat back in her chair, trying to process this information. They did not conquer the wolves. They merged with them. And that is what terrifies the military council, Dallo said. Because humans have done this with almost every predator on their world. New images appeared. Humans swimming with sharks, running with wolves, riding on elephants. Humans nursing injured birds of prey back to health. Humans hand-raising tiger cubs abandoned by their mothers. They have programs dedicated to protecting these creatures, Dallo continued. They call it conservation. When predator populations decline, humans spend enormous resources to save them. They reintroduce wolves to territories where they were hunted to extinction. They build sanctuaries for big cats. They fight to protect sharks from their own fishing industries. But why? What do they gain? Nothing practical. They do it because they believe these creatures have value beyond usefulness. They do it because they care. Prin stared at the screen. A human researcher was carefully fitting a tracking collar around the neck of a sedated lion. The creature could have killed her instantly if it woke. She handled it with the gentleness of a mother caring for her child. This changes everything, Prin whispered. Director Yassel believes so too, Dallo said. He has been arguing against Admiral Gorvin's quarantine proposal. He thinks humans could be the most valuable allies the Union has ever found. And what do you believe? Dallo was quiet for a long moment. I believe that any species that can earn the trust of killers, that can turn predators into partners through patience and love, has discovered something we never have. They found a way to survive not by avoiding danger, but by embracing it, by reaching out to the most dangerous creatures on their world and saying, we could be family. An alert chimed through the research vessel. Prin checked the notification and felt her heart skip. A transmission has been detected from the Sol system, she read. The humans have launched an interstellar probe. It carries messages of peace and friendship. She looked at Dallo with wide eyes. It also carries images of humans with their pets. Then first contact is no longer theoretical, Dallo said softly. No, it is inevitable. Prin turned back to the display, where the simulation of prehistoric humans still played. The wolves had curled up beside the fire now, sleeping peacefully among the people who had once been their competitors. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, humanity was reaching out to the stars. And when the galaxy finally met them, they would not be meeting just one species. They would be meeting a family of predators who had learned to love. The docking corridor stretched for 200 meters, lined with armed guards from 12 different species. Energy weapons hummed with readiness. Shields flickered at every checkpoint. The Galactic Union had never prepared so heavily for a diplomatic meeting at the far end. The human vessel completed its connection to the station. The airlock hissed open. Ambassador Shield stood at the front of the Union delegation, her silver skin reflecting the harsh corridor lights. Beside her, Admiral Gorvin kept one hand near his sidearm. Intelligence Chief Rana watched through recording devices embedded in the walls. Counselor Prin and Research Assistant Dallo observed from a safe room 3 levels above. They are smaller than I expected, Shiel said quietly as the first humans emerged. Captain Amara Obi led her crew down the corridor. She was a woman of medium height with dark skin and calm eyes. Behind her came Dr. Sam Riley, a red-haired man who looked around with obvious excitement. Both of them walked slowly, hands visible, clearly trying to appear non-threatening. Then Lieutenant Rosa Vidal stepped through the airlock. She was not alone. The creature that walked beside her stood as high as her waist. It had 4 legs, a long snout filled with teeth, and eyes that scanned the corridor with intelligent awareness. Its body was covered in tan and black fur. Its tongue hung from its mouth as it panted. Screams erupted from the guards. Weapons swung toward the animal. Someone shouted a word that the translation systems rendered as monster. The creature stopped walking. Its ears went back. It looked up at Lieutenant Vidal with what might have been confusion. "Hold your fire," Captain Obi said, her voice sharp with command. She did not shout, but somehow her words cut through the chaos. "Bruno is harmless. He is a service dog. He is here to provide emotional support for Lieutenant Vidal." Emotional support. Admiral Gorvin stepped forward, his weapon drawn but not aimed. "You brought a predator onto this station for emotional support." "Yes," Vidal said simply. "Bruno helps me stay calm in stressful situations. I have anxiety. He can sense when I am becoming upset and provides comfort." She placed her hand on the dog's head. The creature immediately leaned against her leg, tail wagging slowly. The Union delegates stared. A Death World soldier. A warrior who had likely seen combat and death. And she needed a predator to feel safe. Doctor Riley noticed the fear on the alien faces and laughed. It was a warm sound, not mocking. "I understand this must be confusing," he said. "On our world, dogs are not threats. They are companions. Family members. Bruno would never hurt anyone here." "You cannot know that," Gorvin said. "Actually, I can." Riley crouched down and held out his hand. Bruno trotted over and sniffed it, then licked his fingers enthusiastically. Bruno was trained from birth to be gentle. He passed hundreds of tests before becoming a service animal. He would rather die than harm someone Vidal cares about. Impossible. Predators do not think that way. Earth predators do. At least the ones who live with us. Riley scratched behind Bruno's ears. The dog's tail wagged faster. "Bruno, sit." The dog sat immediately. "Bruno, down." The dog lay flat on the floor. "Bruno, roll over." The dog flopped onto its back, exposing its belly completely. Its legs stuck up in the air. Its tongue lolled out in what could only be described as a goofy expression. "He is showing submission," Riley explained. "This is the most vulnerable position a dog can take. He is telling you that he trusts you completely, that he means no harm." The corridor fell silent. Guards still held their weapons, but the tension had shifted. The sight of an apex predator lying helplessly on its back, tail wagging, waiting for a belly rub, did not match anything they had expected. Captain Obi stepped forward slowly. "I apologize for the confusion. We should have warned you that Bruno would be accompanying us. On Earth, bringing dogs to important meetings is common. They help people stay calm and focused. You take predators to diplomatic negotiations?" She'll ask. "Often, yes. There are therapy dogs in our hospitals. Guide dogs help our blind navigate. Search dogs find people trapped in disasters. Police dogs assist our law enforcement." Obi smiled gently. "Dogs have been our partners for 30,000 years. We do not go anywhere important without them." Ambassador Shiel stared at Bruno, who had rolled back onto his stomach and was now watching the alien delegates with friendly curiosity. His tail still wagged. His mouth hung open in what the humans called a smile. "Why?" Shiel finally asked. "Why do you keep killers in your homes? Why do you trust them with your lives?" Captain Obi tilted her head, genuine confusion crossing her features. "Killers? Bruno?" She looked at her security chief. "Vidal, has Bruno ever hurt anyone?" "Never," Vidal said. "He sleeps in my daughter's bed every night. She is 6 years old. Bruno would protect her from anything, including me if I ever try to harm her. Which I never would, obviously. A predator, in a child's bed, trusted with the most precious thing a human had." The silence stretched. Gorvin slowly holstered his weapon. The other guards followed his lead. Perhaps, Schill said carefully, we should continue this meeting in the conference room. And perhaps Bruno could join us. Bruno's tail wagged harder. He seemed to know he had been accepted. As the group moved toward the meeting chamber, Prin watched from the observation room above. The dog walked in the center of the human formation, surrounded by people who loved him. They are not what we expected, Dallo said beside her. No, Prin agreed. There's something entirely new. And as Bruno glanced up at the observation window, his brown eyes met Prin's for just a moment. The dog's tail wagged once in greeting before he continued on, completely unaware that he had just changed the future of galactic politics. Earth was louder than Prin had expected. The human city hummed with constant activity. Vehicles rushed through streets. People talked and laughed on every corner. And everywhere, absolutely everywhere, there were animals. The Galactic Union observation team had been on the planet for 3 days. Prin, Dallo, and 4 other researchers moved through the human settlement with Dr. Riley as their guide. Armed guards had been offered and refused. The humans seemed confused by the idea that visitors might need protection. That one is a golden retriever, Riley said, pointing a large dog being walked by an elderly human. Very popular breed. Extremely friendly. Great with children. The dog noticed the alien visitors and pulled toward them, tail wagging furiously. Its owner smiled and let it approach. Prin froze as the creature pushed its wet nose against her hand. She wants you to pet her, Riley explained. Just scratch behind her ears. Prin hesitated, then slowly reached out. The dog's fur was soft and warm. When she scratched the spot Riley indicated, the animal leaned into her touch and made a sound of contentment. She likes you, the elderly human said, grinning. Bella likes everyone. The researchers continued their tour. They visited a park where dozens of dogs ran freely, playing with each other and their humans. They watched children climb over patient animals 3 times their size. They saw a cat sleeping in a shop window while customers moved around it with careful respect. How do you live like this? Dallo finally asked. Surrounded by so many predators. We do not see them as predators, Riley said. We see them as friends. But they have teeth, claws, hunting instincts. Sure, but they also have love, loyalty, the ability to form bonds that last lifetimes. Riley stopped in front of a building with a sign that read City Animal Shelter. Let me show you something that might help you understand. Inside, the shelter was clean and bright. Cages lined the walls, each containing a dog or cat. Staff members moved between them, filling food bowls and changing bedding. In a back room, volunteers sat on the floor, gently petting animals who seemed nervous. This is a rescue shelter, Riley explained. These animals were abandoned by their owners. Lost, abused, left to die. Humans here dedicate their lives to saving them. Saving predators. Prin asked. Yes, we nurse them back to health. We teach them to trust again. Then we find them new homes with families who will love them. Riley knelt beside a cage containing a small, trembling dog with scars on its body. This one was beaten by its previous owner. It took months for the staff to earn its trust. Tomorrow, a family is coming to adopt it. They have 3 children who cannot wait to meet their new friend. Prin watched as Riley gently stroked the scarred dog through the cage bars. The animal stopped trembling and leaned toward his hand. You protect them, she said slowly. Even when they have been dangerous, even when they have hurt people. Not all of them can be saved, Riley admitted. Some are too damaged, too afraid. But we try, because we believe every life has value. The tour continued to a veterinary hospital, where doctors worked through the night to save a dog that had been hit by a vehicle. The animal's owner sat in the waiting room, tears streaming down her face. When the doctor emerged to say the surgery was successful, the woman collapsed with relief. She would have paid anything, Riley said quietly. She would have done anything to save him, even though she could simply get another dog. He is not replaceable. He is family. Would you replace your child simply because you could have another? The final stop was a family home in a quiet neighborhood. A human woman named Lucia welcomed them inside with warm hospitality. Her household contained 3 children under the age of 10, 2 large dogs, and a cat. "Do not worry," Lucia said to the nervous aliens. "They are all very gentle." Dinner was chaotic and wonderful. The children talked over each other excitedly. The dogs waited patiently beside the table, hoping for scraps. The cat wandered through the room, occasionally accepting attention from whoever offered it. After the meal, the smallest child began to yawn. She was perhaps 4 years old, with curly hair and tired eyes. Without being told, she walked to the larger of the 2 dogs and laid down against its side. The dog did not move. It remained perfectly still as the child settled against its warm fur. Its eyes, once alert and watchful, softened into something that looked almost protective. When the child's breathing slowed into sleep, the dog sighed contentedly and rested its head on its paws. Bruno would do the same thing, Prin remembered. At the station, all dogs would, Lucia said. They know when they're trusted. They know when they are needed. And they would never, ever betray that trust. Prin watched the sleeping child and a watchful dog for a long time. Everything she had been taught about predators, about danger, about survival, seemed meaningless in that moment. Her communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Director Yassel. She read it and felt her blood run cold. "What is wrong?" Dallo asked. "Admiral Gorvin," Prin said quietly. "He is proposing military action against Earth. He believes humans are too dangerous to be allowed into the galaxy." She looked at the peaceful scene before her, the child sleeping against her protector, the family gathered in warmth and safety. "I have to testify before the Security Council. I have to make them understand." Understand what? Prin thought about everything she had seen. The wolves who chose to follow humans. The dogs who guarded children with their lives. The shelter workers who saved abandoned animals. The woman who wept for her injured pet. "That we have been asking the wrong question all along," she said. "We asked why humans keep killers as pets. But the real question is why killers choose to stay." The dog's ear twitched. It opened one eye, looked at Prin for a moment, then closed it again. It was not worried. It was exactly where it wanted to be, and Prin finally understood what that meant. The Grand Council chamber held representatives from 47 species. Every seat was filled. Every eye was focused on the central platform where Admiral Gorvin stood, his massive frame casting shadows across the assembly. "Humans are the product of a death world," he declared. "They evolved alongside killers. They became killers themselves. Their history is written in blood and conquest. And now they want to join our union." He slammed his fist against the podium. "They will bring their predators with them. Their violence. Their chaos. I say we act now, before they spread across the galaxy like a plague." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Fear was a powerful motivator, and Gorvin knew how to use it. "The military council has prepared a plan," he continued. "Containment of the Sol system. Quarantine of all human vessels. If necessary, we have weapons capable of ending their threat permanently." "You speak of genocide," Ambassador Schultz said sharply. "I speak of survival." The chamber erupted into argument. Species shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate action. Others called for caution. The chaos grew until Director Yassel raised his hand for silence. "Counselor Prin has requested to address the council," he announced. "She has spent time on Earth. She has studied humanity directly. We should hear her testimony." Prin walked to the central platform on shaking legs. She was a small creature standing before the most powerful assembly in the galaxy. But she had seen things they had not. She understood things they could not. "Admiral Gorvin is right about one thing," she began. "Humans are from a death world. They did evolve with predators. They have a history of violence." She paused, "But he's wrong about what that means." She activated the display behind her. Images appeared, not of weapons or wars, of a firefighter carrying a cat from a burning building, of a veterinarian working through the night to save an injured owl, of a child sharing her food with a stray dog. "Humans do not survive by avoiding danger," Prin said. "They survive by transforming it. They found the most dangerous creatures on their planet, and they did something impossible. They reached out with open hands and said, 'We could be family.'" "Pretty words," Gorvin interrupted. "But predators are predators. They cannot be changed. The wolves disagreed. Prin changed the display to show the genetic evidence. 30,000 years ago, wolves chose to join humans. Not because they were forced, because they saw something valuable. Over generations, both species changed. They became partners. They became family. And now humans bring these predators everywhere, Gorvin argued. Into their homes, their hospitals, their places of government. They are breeding an army of killers. No, they are building relationships based on trust and love. Prin showed footage from her time on Earth. The shelter workers saving abandoned animals. The service dogs guiding blind humans. The therapy animals comforting the sick and grieving. When predator populations decline, humans spend enormous resources to save them. They do not eliminate threats. They transform them into allies. Prin looked directly at Gorvin. Ask yourself, Admiral, if humans can earn the loyalty of Deathworld predators through kindness, what could they do with us? Dallo stepped forward with one final piece of evidence. I recorded this on Earth, he said. A human child explaining to her dog why she must leave for school. The recording played. A small girl, perhaps 5 years old, kneeling in front of a patient golden retriever. I have to go, she said, but I will be back. I promise. I love you. The dog whined softly. The girl hugged it tightly, then walked out the door. The recording showed the dog sitting by the window, watching, waiting. Hours passed in accelerated footage. Then the door opened. The child returned. The reunion was pure joy. The dog's whole body wagged with happiness. The child laughed and wrapped her arms around its neck. They fell to the floor together in a tangle of limbs and fur and love. This is what we feared, Dallo said quietly. This is the terrifying bond between humans and predators. A child and her best friend. The chamber was silent. On the display, the little girl whispered something into her dog's ear. The translation system could not catch it, but the meaning was clear. I missed you. I love you. We are family. Ambassador Shield stood slowly. A move that Earth be accepted into the Galactic Union. Not as a threat to be contained, as a potential partner to be welcomed. The vote was close. Tensions ran high, but in the end, hope won over fear. By a narrow margin, humanity was invited to join the galactic community. 1 year later, Ambassador Shield returned to Earth for a cultural festival. She walked through crowds of humans and aliens mingling together. Music played, food was shared, and everywhere, as always, there were animals that the golden retriever approached her, its tail wagging slowly. Shield froze. Old fears rose up. The dog sensed her discomfort and sat down patiently. It did not push closer. It simply waited. Slowly, carefully, Shield reached out her hand. The dog sniffed it gently, then licked her fingers with a warm, wet tongue. Its tail wagged faster. Shield laughed. It was a strange sound coming from her silver throat, but it was genuine. She knelt down and scratched behind the dog's ears the way she had seen humans do. The dog leaned into her touch and made a soft sound of contentment. I understand now, she said to no one in particular. Humans did not tame predators. They did not conquer them or control them. A human family walked past, their children playing with a massive dog that looked like a wolf. The animal bounced around them with clumsy joy, its tongue hanging out, its eyes bright with happiness. She'll watch them disappear into the crowd. The golden retriever stayed beside her, enjoying the attention, completely at peace. They taught them how to love, she whispered. And maybe, given enough time, they can teach us the same. The dog's tail wagged in agreement, and somewhere in the galaxy, 47 species began to learn what humanity had discovered 30,000 years ago. That the most powerful force in the universe was not weapons or technology or strength. The IT was the simple choice to reach out to something dangerous and say, we can be family. That IT was love.